Welcome, everybody. Welcome back for another amazing podcast. Today we have again with us Dr. Farrukh Habib. He did fulfill his promise of coming back, so I want to thank him a lot for coming back. Today's topic is a very hot topic. You guys have been asking about it. There's a lot of behind the scenes discussions. That's why it took me some time to get this video ready for you guys. Cad, so we have Dr. Farrukh here, and today we're going to be talking about the steps to finding halal tokens. You know what makes a token halal, and then inshallah we're going to get into a little bit more of the detailed questions of does the value or the permissibility of a token be derived from the organization, the token itself, or both, and all that stuff. So Kat, before we get into all the fun tokenomics and token stuff, how's your life? What's going on? What's the updates?
Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello everyone. It is again a pleasure to be in with Ahmed, and Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for inviting me. Life is Alhamdulillah fine, and Eid is coming up, Eid al-Adha, so we are all prepared for that. And I would like to say Eid Mubarak in advance to everyone, inshallah.
And I think this podcast will be probably coming out around probably after Eid. So yes. Okay. And what did you get yourself? A cow, a goat? What are you doing this year?
Inshallah, I will be doing Udhiyah in Pakistan as usual, and we will be having both actually cow and goats.
Amazing. I mean, I wanted to do camel this year actually. I was like, if all of us can combine, like in the family, because Alhamdulillah, I got a few brothers and we got a big family. So I was like, if we all can combine and do a camel, but my parents was like, no, just stick to the cows and the sheep, and we should be fine. So I said, Alhamdulillah, cat. Okay. All right. So let's get this thing started. So, Dr. Farrukh, could you? A lot of people want to spend time on the white paper, and they want to understand how do they know if something is halal or not, like a token, a crypto token. What would you say are the steps? And then while you're talking, I'll kind of put the steps in the bottom so people can read them also. So, the floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I would like to basically divide this approach into a conceptual approach first and then the practical approach. So we need to understand that conceptually what is crypto asset and whether they can be Sharia compliant or not and how they can be Sharia compliant. So these are basically the conceptual things. First, we need to know, because from those conceptual things, we are going to derive some principles and rulings so that we can actually implement those rulings and principles on a real life case or a actual token to see that whether it is Sharia compliant or not. So from the Sharia perspective, I would like to highlight few things. Number one is that Sharia has a definition of what is mal. The Arabic terminology is mal, but if you want to translate it into English, it can be translated as asset or property. So what is basically an asset or property? There are four characteristics. If the four characteristics are found in anything, then it can be considered as mal. So what are they? Number one is that this thing should have a commercial value, should have an economic value. Number two is this thing should have the capability to be owned.
Okay.
Number three is this thing should have the capability to be stored. And then the fourth thing is it should be transferable. So it should have a capability to be transferred to somebody else. So there are four characteristics. Number one is commercial value, ownership, storage, it can be stored, and then the third thing, last thing is it can be transferred to somebody.
Okay.
So if these four characteristics are combined in anything, then it can be considered as an asset or mal or property from the Sharia perspective. But then the second question would be that whether this mal or asset is halal or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the Arabic terminology, the fiqhi terminology is that is mutaqawwam or ghayr mutaqawwam. Mutaqawwam means like it has a value from in the eye of Sharia,
Mm-hmm.
or it does not have a value in the eye of Sharia. So this is the question then we ask. By the way, if you look at the Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali school of fiqh, they actually consider this mutaqawwam property like being valuable in the eye of Sharia as the initial property. So, but Hanafi, they differ from it. They say first we need to define mal or property or asset first, and then we can divide it into mal mutaqawwam or ghair mutaqawwam. Mal mutaqawwam, which is valuable in the eye of Sharia. Mal ghair mutaqawwam, which is not valuable in the eye of Sharia.
Okay.
So I am basically following this categorization because it is more clear, it gives more clarity, and also it is a little bit more comprehensive.
Amazing.
So now, but again, it doesn't mean that other approaches are not correct, but they are very straightforward. They consider mal only when it is valuable in the eye of Sharia. Otherwise, it is not even mal.
Okay.
Or property or asset. So this is basically the main difference between the two approaches. But again, the outcome will be the same.
Okay.
So now let me just give you an example of first what is mal. So like for example, a piece of land, real estate is mal because it has a commercial value. It is stored anyway, and it can be owned and it can be transferred. The land title can be transferred to somebody.
For sure.
Now, wine is also mal in the eye is mal according to this definition because wine has economic value, right?
Yeah.
So people buy it, people purchase it, and it has a price tag. So they are willing to give some value against this. Number one. Number two, it can be stored, it can be transferred, and it can be owned. So in this sense, it is mal. But the difference between real estate and wine is that real estate is mal mutaqawwam. Because in the eye of Sharia, it is valuable.
Yeah.
Wine is still mal, but mal ghair mutaqawwam. Which means that invaluable in the eye of Sharia.
Got it. Yeah.
So because of that, so what we are trying to say for the wine is that for non-Muslims, it is a valuable asset. But for Muslims, it is not a valuable asset. So Sharia does not allow us as a Muslim to derive benefit out of wine. Because of that, it is mal ghair mutaqawwam. Now, so how do we decide that whether one mal or asset is valuable in the eye of Sharia or not valuable in the eye of Sharia? This is the question then. So now, this question can be easily addressed when we say that if something intrinsically consists of haram element, or if something is composed of haram elements, then it is considered as mal ghair mutaqawwam or invaluable in the eye of Sharia. There is another way of finding it. If Sharia has explicitly mentioned it that it is not Sharia compliant, so then we will say that it is not Sharia compliant. For example, Quran says, "Innamal khamru wal maisiru wal anshabu rijsun min amali shaitan." So khamr has already been directly mentioned in Quran, saying that it is haram. So now we know. So we do not need to basically analyze the ingredients of wine or something like that, because we have already got a direct ruling for wine. So there are few things which are already explicitly mentioned as haram in the main sources of Sharia. So those things are haram. Even the derivatives of those things should be considered as haram, unless and until their nature and I would say the basic composition is being changed.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is a different topic. I do not want to go into the detail of that, but I think that we have got the idea that what I'm trying to say here. And then You have another approach of finding a haram or mal ghair mutaqawwam by saying that like it contains haram elements in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Now, other than that, if it is a mal, as it is an asset, then it will be valuable in the eye of Sharia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is one thing, one debate. I have just quickly summarized it. There is another thing I would like to highlight it is that something is halal or haram is one topic.
Mm-hmm.
That this thing in itself is halal or not.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and then number two is whether when you use this thing in a transaction, when you use that thing as a subject matter of a dealing or a contract
Mm-hmm.
or a transaction, then again we also need to see whether that transaction itself is halal or not.
Okay.
That is another thing. For example, if I need money, I can come to you and I say that, Ahmed, can you please lend me $100? And you say, okay, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can take it. And after 1 month, I come back to you and I say, okay, thank you so much. You helped me when I needed the money. So here is your money. So it's a lending and borrowing transaction,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there is no interest involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is halal. The transaction is halal. The subject matter, $100, which you gave me, the value is also halal.
Mm-hmm.
But if let's suppose that I come to you and I say that, Ahmed, I need money, can you give me $100? And then you say, okay, I can give you $100 for a month, but you have to pay me back $110. So then this transaction is not halal.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are two things. Number one is something as a subject matter is halal or not. Second thing is the transaction itself is halal or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, when this is all clear, then we come to our third main concept, which is Sharia does recognize intangible assets or virtual assets.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have seen in the discussion of classical fuqaha and scholars and Islamic jurists, they recognized hukuk, rights.
Mm-hmm.
They recognized manfa, usufruct of anything,
Mm-hmm.
as property and mal.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also another concept which people need to understand, because I have seen a lot of debate and discussion among common people saying that, oh, we cannot touch it, we cannot see something, so it is not halal.
Yeah. From crypto perspective, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I will come back to this one, but generally I'm trying to basically lay down some basis here.
Conceptual, yeah.
So some people they say that, okay, if I cannot see it, if I cannot physically touch it, then it is not halal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is a huge difference between something being non-existent,
Yeah.
and something being intangible,
Yeah.
or virtual.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, of course, I understand that non-existent thing cannot be a subject matter of a transaction. But of course, like there are some special transaction, for example, say salam sale or istisna sale. So where something is non-existent and then in istisna you produce it. For example, a building.
Yeah.
So you can basically construct a building, but at the time of contract it was not there, so you can have an istisna contract, which is again an Islamic contract.
Yeah.
That is another thing.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, being non-existent is something different,
Yeah.
and being virtual is something different.
100%.
Okay, with this understanding now comes we can directly now approach to our main topic, which is cryptocurrency, crypto assets. Now I again try whenever I talk about crypto assets, I try to emphasize on this terminology that we should call them crypto assets, not cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Because now this is the second source of confusion among the people, or even fuqaha and Sharia scholars,
Mm-hmm.
that when they consider this whole phenomena of crypto, they consider that everything in this space is currency.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's not.
And when they think that it is currency, then what they they go back and do the reverse engineering, that okay, if it is a currency, then we have to look from the economic perspective whether it is a currency or not. We need to look at the fiqh perspective and the sharia perspective whether it is currency or not. And if it is not currency, then it is haram.
Yeah, sometimes the primary use case of these protocols or assets are, yes, like DeFi, currency. But then sometimes it's so totally something way different, like stuff like HNT has nothing to do with being a currency. Rather, it has a lot to do with 5G network. So, yeah, so sorry, I cut you off there.
Even for NFTs, for example.
Yeah. Yeah,
they are not meant to be currencies for any protocol. I haven't seen any protocol until now. Please correct me if I am wrong. That which is using NFTs as a currency or a payment token. I don't think so.
I haven't seen it, but it would be cool to see, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but anyway, so the thing is, first we need to clear out our mind that it is an asset class, not currency only. Now, in that asset class, you may have some tokens or coins which are serving the purpose of being currency.
Yeah.
So now we have come to another discussion, which is basically how to categorize these crypto assets. So we can have number one, payment tokens or currency tokens. So this is number one category in the asset class of crypto assets. So, for example, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple. So these tokens or protocols are meant to be a payment system, and they are not backed by anything. So that's why they are considered as currency token. Okay, number one. Number two, but again, even in the currency category, we can further divide them into subcategories. For example, some tokens are not backed by anything at all, but they have created a payment protocol. They are based on a payment protocol. For example, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple. So these are basically, there is nothing behind them, nothing backing them, but the protocol itself has a utility. And that utility is being considered as the intrinsic, creating the intrinsic value for those tokens. So that is number one. Then again, in the same category of payment tokens or payment coins, or you want to call it cryptocurrency, if you want to call this subcategory as, you can call it. Then the second one is stable coins. And those stable coins are sometimes backed by currency reserves. For example, USDC and USDT. I do not know. There is a controversy behind it, but I assume face value, for the sake of this discussion, that USDT is also 100% completely backed by the reserves.
Yeah, right now there's some but don't worry about it. Let's keep. We're getting a way too tangent on a tangent for that. But yes,
So now, then we have a third category under this subcategory under the same category of currency, which is algorithmic stable coins. And by the way, sorry, there can be another category which can be added, that crypto assets fully backed by gold and silver. So they are also considered, because from the Sharia perspective, gold and silver is considered as currency. So we will put also this type of category into this thing.
Got it.
So there are four. Some tokens are not backed by anything. They have a utility platform. Some are stable coins. Then stable coins can be divided into two. Some of them are backed by 100% reserves. Some of them are algorithmic stable coins. And then you have this gold and silver backed cryptocurrencies. So they are all currencies. Then, other than the currency, we also have some tokens which are equity tokens. So remember that in the last 2 years, there is a boom of STOs, security token offering. So basically what it represents is shares or a stock of a company in the form of tokens, crypto tokens. So they are equity tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I think that I do not want to go deep into that. There is a specific
For
rule
stocks.
set of principle and ruling Sharia principles how to deal in shares and stocks.
Yeah. By
So
the way,
same
guys.
will apply on this category.
Yeah. By the
Then there is a
guys,
third.
sorry to cut you off there, but by the way, guys, whoever's watching, there's gonna be a video on that also on how to tell permissibility on stocks. That's also in production, so that's a whole different conversation. But Kat, back to you, Dr.
Yeah.
Luke.
And then we have the third crypto asset category of the crypto asset is commodity tokens, but those commodity tokens are non-gold and non-silver
Got it.
because we have already put gold and silver into the currency category. So because of that, this one is non-gold and non-silver commodity-backed tokens.
Got it. Got it.
I do not know whether it is still there or not, but I think in 2019 and 18, when I was looking for specific examples of commodity-backed tokens, I found banana coin in Philippines. Yeah, so I don't know whether it is still there or not, but what they did is they specified the quality and quantity of a specific banana which was produced in Philippines, and based on they have the stock of those bananas, for example, like 100 tons or something like that, and based on that they issued tokens, and it was called banana coin. I don't know whether it is still there or not, but that is basically can be considered as an example of non-gold, non-silver commodity-backed token.
Yeah. Okay.
So then, okay, and then we have fourth category, which is governance tokens.
Yes.
So they give you some specific rights for voting. And then we can also have another category, fifth category, as utility tokens. So utility tokens, for example, BNB is a good example of utility token because when you use it during the transaction, so you get some discount if you are paying your gas fees in the form of BNB. So it's like a discount voucher.
Yeah.
It gives you a discount on the platform. So, and also there are some other utilization of BNB. Of course, it is not the only one use case of this, but in that sense, it can be considered as a utility token.
Okay. Okay.
So these are the five main categories of crypto assets. So now you can see that like not all of them are currencies.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think now the question is that how do you do the review or analysis